years going for the next 8 years, which is what a lot of people believe is going to happen, that the Democrats are in such a bad spot with no leader, no message, and nothing that the American people are interested in, that once Donald Trump ends his term, and we love the Trump 2028 hats, don't kid yourself, I know everybody, especially a lot of Democrats love those, that it will be J.D. Vance for the next 8 years, and that is...
They say in Washington, if you want a friend, get a dog. But if you want power, get a scandal, and right now. We are watching the single most explosive scandal in modern political history unfold in real time. It has everything: a vice president positioned for the top job, a grieving widow who looks more like a movie star than a mourner, a brilliant but silent wife who is slowly being erased from the frame, and a conspiracy theory so dark it makes House of Cards look like a nursery rhyme. She walked into the gala with a smile. She walked out with a scandal that shook the conservative movement to its core. We are talking, of course, about the triangle: J.D. Vance, Yusha Vance, and the woman who has suddenly become the most visible widow in America, Erika Kirk. If you have been offline for the last 3 months, you might think this is just tabloids grasping at straws. But if you have been paying attention, really paying attention to the body language, the speeches, and the missing wedding rings, you know this is something else. This is a soft launch, a rebranding, a replacement. So buckle up, because we are about to dissect 90 days of chaos that changed the trajectory of the American right. The premonition, it started with a whisper. Long before the tragedy, there were rumors in D.C. that J.D. Vance had a ceiling. He was the vice president. He was the heir apparent to the MAGA movement. But there was a problem: the demographics, the optics, the Christian nationalist wing of the party, the base that Vance needs to lock down 2028 was skeptical. Why? Because of USHA. Smart, successful, brilliant Yusha, who grew up Hindu, who is not a trad wife, who doesn't fit the mold of the evangelical first lady the base craves. For years, J.D. navigated this with grace. He defended her. He called their differences a strength. But power does funny things to people. And as the 2028 election cycle started to loom on the horizon, the narrative shifted, and then, on September 10, 2025, the world stopped. The day everything changed due to Valley University, the American comeback tour. Charlie Kirk, the golden boy of the conservative youth movement, takes the stage. He's fiery, he's controversial, he's unstoppable, and then, SILENCEA rooftop shooter. A single moment of violence that ended a life and birthed a martyr. The assassination of Charlie Kirk wasn't just a tragedy, it was a political earthquake. The MAGA world was thrown into chaos. Candace Owens was screaming about conspiracies. The FBI was locking down the campus. And in the center of the storm was Erika Kirk. Now, pause. How would you expect a young mother of two, who just lost her husband in a violent public execution, to react? Withdrawal, silence, dark sunglasses, and guarded privacy? That is what the world expected. But that is not what we got. The widow's rise barely 48 hours after the shooting. Erika Kirk wasn't hiding. She was leading. She stood at the podium at Turning Point USA headquarters, eyes dry, voice steady, delivering a speech that sounded less like a eulogy and more like a campaign launch. "You have no idea the fire you've ignited within this wife," she declared. "The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry." It was electric. It was powerful. But to some observers, it was unsettling. Where was the shock? Where was the collapse? Critics immediately pointed out the precision of her performance. The lighting was perfect. The makeup was camera ready. The messaging was on brand. Within a week, the board of Turning Point USA, an organization worth millions, with massive political influence, voted unanimously to name Erika Kirk the new CEO, not a caretaker. The boss. She wasn't just the grieving widow anymore. She was a power player. And she needed an ally. Enter Vice President J.D. Vance. The shift there is where the timeline gets messy. And here is where you need to pay attention to the details. In the weeks following the funeral, J.D. Vance became a fixture in Erika's orbit. It made sense on paper. The vice president comforting the widow of a prominent ally. Standard political theater. But the energy was different. Suddenly, J.D. was talking less about policy and more about faith. And not just faith in general, specifically the Christian gospel. And specifically, his wife's lack of it. Let's go back to that rally in October. She's on stage. The crowd is hyped. He starts talking about his marriage. Usually, this is the part where a politician says, "My wife is my rock, I love her." J.D. didn't do that. "My wife did not grow up Christian," he told the crowd. He paused, letting that sink in. "I think it's fair to say she grew up in a Hindu family. But I believe in the Christian gospel." And then, the kicker. "I hope eventually my wife comes to see it the same way. But if she doesn't, God says everybody has free will, free will." It sounded like a threat. It sounded like an ultimatum delivered through a microphone to 10,000 cheering strangers. Why now? Why, after a decade of marriage, is he publicly highlighting her otherness? Why point out the religious divide just as he's courting the evangelical vote for 2028? Engagement hook. Put yourself in Yusha's shoes. Your husband is the vice president. You have supported his career, moved your family, and stood by his side. Suddenly, he's on national television telling a room full of voters that he hopes you eventually convert. Do you see this as a man sharing his faith or a man preparing to cut you loose? The Oxford incident. If the speech was the spark, the event at Ole Miss was the gasoline. October 29, 2025, the University of Mississippi. Another turning point event. Erika Kirk is the MC, J.D. Vance is the keynote. The atmosphere was charged. Erika takes the stage to introduce the vice president. And she is glowing. Not I'm finding peace glowing. I'm the star of the show glowing. She's wearing tight leather pants, a bold choice for a conservative widow. At a memorial-adjacent event, she grabs the mic, and she drops the quote that launched 1,000 conspiracy threads. "No one will ever replace my husband," she says, her voice trembling just enough to be poignant. "But I do see some similarities of my husband and JD, in Vice President JD Vance, I do." Similarities. She compared the Vice President of the United States to her late husband. She framed JD Vance not as a colleague, but as a mirror of the man she loved, and then he walked out. And the hug happened. If you haven't seen the slow-motion breakdown of this hug on TikTok, you are living under a rock. It wasn't a handshake. It wasn't a side hug. JD steps in. Erika steps in. His hand goes to her hip. Firmly, her hand goes up. It touches his back. It slides up. And her fingers graze the back of his neck and his hair. It lasted 3 seconds. But in body language terms, it was a novel. Touching the back of a man's neck is an intimate gesture. It's something you do to a partner, a lover, a child. You do not do it to the Vice President of the United States on a stage in front of cameras. Unless you are sending a message, and the message was received. The internet exploded. "Look at his face," one user wrote. "He's not pulling away. Look at her smile," another said. "That's the smile of a woman who just secured the bag." The Yusha disappearance while Erika and JD were having their leather-clad moment in Mississippi. Where was Yusha? The second lady has always been low-key. But this was different. This was a vanishing act. The press started asking questions. Where is Mrs. Vance? Why wasn't she at the Turning Point Gala? Why is she missing from the holiday card preview? And then, on November 19th, we got the answer. Or at least, a clue. Yusha Vance appeared at Camp Lejeune for a scheduled visit with First Lady Melania Trump. She looked tired. Her usual radiant smile was dim. She seemed thinner. But the eagle-eyed observers noticed something else. Her left hand. Into separate photos, her ring finger looked bare. Was it a lighting trick? Was the ring just turned around? Or had she taken it off? The tabloids ran with it. Trouble in paradise? The headlines screamed. Yusha walks alone. Sources close to the second lady say she is humiliated. She's not stupid. She's a Yale-educated lawyer. She clerked for the Supreme Court. She knows what a soft launch looks like. She knows what it means when her husband starts holding hands with the queen of the MAGA youth while leaving her at home. The Pauline privilege theory. This is where the story gets dark. And frankly, a little terrifying. The internet sleuths, the same ones who decode Taylor Swift lyrics, started digging into Catholic canon law. J.D. Vance is a convert to Catholicism. He takes his faith seriously. Divorce is a no-no in the church unless enter the Pauline privilege. It's an ancient church rule. Basically, it allows a marriage to be dissolved if it was between two unbaptized people, or if one party is baptized and the other isn't, and the non-Christian partner departs or hinders the faith of the Christian partner. Suddenly, JD's comments about Yusha's religion didn't seem so random anymore. My wife did not grow up Christian. If she doesn't convert. Free will. Is he building a case? Is he setting up a theological loophole to justify a divorce? The theory goes like this. JD claims Yusha's lack of faith is a spiritual burden. He uses the Pauline privilege to annul the marriage. He is then free to marry a devout Christian woman without breaking church rules. And who is the most available, famous, devout Christian woman in his circle right now? Erika Kirk. It sounds insane. It sounds like fan fiction. But in a world where reality TV stars become presidents, is it really that far-fetched? The Candace Owens factor. Just when you thought the cast of characters couldn't get any wilder, enter Candace Owens. The firebrand commentator has been on a warpath since Charlie Kirk's death. She's not buying the official story. She's not buying the grieving widow act. And she is definitely not buying the JD Vance alliance. On her podcast last week, Candace dropped a bombshell. She claimed that on September 9th, the day before he died, Charlie Kirk sent a text message to a staffer. "They are going to kill me." Candace didn't name names, but she looked directly into the camera and said, "There are people in this movement who benefit from Charlie being a martyr, more than they benefited from him being a leader who benefits." Turning Point USA benefits donations are through the roof. Erika Kirk benefits, she is now the CEO and a national figure. J.D. Vance benefits, he inherits Charlie's massive youth army without having to deal with Charlie's sometimes unpredictable ego. Candace is hinting at a coup, a hostile takeover of the MAGA youth vote. With Charlie out of the way, the path is clear for a Vance-Kirk consolidation. But this time, it's JD and Erika, the pregnancy rumor, and because the internet has no chill, we have to talk about the pregnancy rumor. It started on Twitter X. Insider claims Erika Kirk is 8 weeks pregnant. Now, let's do the math. Charlie died on September 10th. It is now late November. If she is 8 weeks pregnant, that puts conception around late September, weeks after Charlie died. Let me be clear, this rumor is unverified. It is widely considered to be false or malicious gossip. But the fact that it is trending with millions of views shows you how little trust the public has in this narrative. People believe it's possible because they have seen the way Erika looks at JD, they have seen the leather pants, they have seen the joy that seems to bubble out of her. Even when she's talking about her dead husband, one commentator put it brutally, "Lady, wasn't your husband just publicly executed only a couple of weeks ago? I've never had this much joy on my best day." The branding of a new power couple. Let's step back from the gossip and look at the strategy. Politics is about visual storytelling. What story is being told right now? J.D. Vance is the future, Erika Kirk is the survivor. Together, they look like a formidable ticket. Young, attractive, conservative, Christian. They look like the cover of a magazine that the base wants to read. Yusha Vance? She looks like the past. She looks like the elite coastal lawyer that the base distrusts. Her vegetarianism, her Hindu faith, her Yale background, these were assets when JD was writing Hillbilly Elegy. But now that he is running for the throne of the populist movement, they are liabilities. The speculation is that JD's team knows this. They know that to win in 2028, he needs to be more Catholic than the Pope and more MAGA than Trump. He needs a wife who can lead prayer circles, not legal briefs. He needs a partner who can go on Fox News and cry about the culture war. Erika Kirk was born for that role. Yusha Vance was not. The optics of betrayal. There is a concept in PR called the pivot, usually. It refers to changing a policy position. Here, it feels like they are pivoting a family. Watch the interviews Erika is doing. She is on Megyn Kelly, she is on PBD, she is on Tucker. She is controlling the narrative. And in every interview, she mentions JD. JD has been so supportive. JD checks on me every day. JD is the only one who understands the burden. It's subtle, but it's repetitive. She is linking their names in the public consciousness, Vance-Kirk, Kirk-Vance. And every time she does it, Yusha fades a little further into the background. Engagement hook. Be honest. If you were Yusha Vance, sitting at home, watching this woman go on a national media tour and praise your husband's comforting touch, what would you do? A. Issue a statement and shut it down? B. File for divorce and take half? C. Stay silent and play the long game? Let me know in the comments. I know what I'd do. The silence of the lambs. Most deafening part of this scandal is what isn't being said. Yusha hasn't given an interview in 3 months. JD hasn't denied the rumors. Erika hasn't told people to stop speculating about the hug. In celebrity PR, no comment is usually code for we are figuring out how to spin this. If there was nothing to hide, they would laugh it off. They would post a photo of the three of them having dinner. They would kill the rumor with a single Instagram story, but they aren't doing that. They are letting the fire burn. Why? Maybe because the fire is useful. Maybe the rumors of a divorce help JD with a certain demographic that dislikes Yusha. Maybe the rumors of a romance help Erika stay relevant in a news cycle that moves too fast. Or maybe, just maybe, the rumors are true. The long game, 2028. Let's look at the chessboard. Donald Trump's term ends in January 2029. The battle for the 2028 nomination starts. Basically now, J.D. Vance is the frontrunner, but he has rivals. He has to secure the evangelical vote. He has to secure the Turning Point youth vote. By aligning with Erika Kirk, he locks down the youth vote. She controls the organization now. By distancing himself from Yusha's non-Christian background, he signals to the evangelicals that he is one of them. It is cynical. It is ruthless. But it is politics. The Pauline privilege isn't just a theological concept. It's a political strategy. Shed the unevenly yoked marriage. Enter a godly union with a conservative warrior queen. Ride the wave of redemption and romance all the way to the White House. It's the plot of a movie we'd all call too unrealistic. but we are watching it happen on live TV. The respite there is a danger here. The public isn't stupid. And women in particular are watching. Suburban women the demographic JD struggles with might not see a godly union. They might see a husband abandoning the wife who built him up. They might see a widow moving on to fast. They might see betrayal if Yusha Vance decides to speak. If she decides to tell her side of the story, she could burn the whole house down. She knows where the bodies are buried. She knows the real JD, not the converted crusader he plays on TV. If Yusha goes full Princess Diana, the scorned, silent, dignified wife who finally speaks her truth, JD Vance's 2028 dreams could evaporate overnight. The text message mystery. Let's circle back to Candace Owens and that text message. They are going to kill me if that text is real and if it comes out. This stops being a scandal about adultery and starts being a scandal about conspiracy. Did Charlie Kirk know he was being targeted? Did he know there were wolves in his own camp? And does Erika know? Some people find it strange that Erika seems so at peace with the narrative. She accepted the lone gunman theory very quickly. She pivoted to continuing the legacy almost immediately. There was no anger, no demand for answers. No, I will not rest until I find out the truth, just acceptance and promotion. Is she a grieving widow trying to survive? Or is she a stakeholder in the new management? The verdict: we're living in the age of the soft coup. You don't need tanks to take over a movement. You just need a microphone, a widow, and a narrative shift. We are witnessing the erasure of Yusha Vance, bit by bit, photo by photo, quote by quote. She is being edited out of the JD Vance story. And Erika Kirk is being edited, and it is harsh. It is cruel. But it is happening. The hug was the trailer. The free will speech was the foreshadowing. The missing ring was the twist. And we are all just waiting for the season finale. Conclusion: the cliffhanger. So, where do we go from here? The holidays are coming. Christmas cards. Family photos. Watch them closely. Will Yusha be in the center or on the edge? Will Erika be invited to the Vance family Christmas? Will the ring reappear or will it be gone for good? Every detail matters. Because this isn't just celebrity gossip. This is the audition for the next First Lady of the United States. And right now, it looks like there are two women fighting for the role. One has the ring. The other has the momentum. And JD Vance? He's the man in the middle, smiling that politician smile, waiting to see who the polls prefer.